Okay, today we're going to be talking about what I would do if I was starting over from scratch today in 2025. A lot of people ask me about this, so I decided let's make a podcast about it because a lot has changed. There's AI tools, how you market your businesses is changing, and a whole lot more. The reason I wanted to do this conversation is because of this one tweet I came across this week where someone cloned my business in a day. Stole my business idea, launched it, and did it all in a single day. And this has me a little bit freaked out. And I'm going to show you what he did, what I think about it, and why I actually kind of think it's awesome.
All right. Yeah. So Pat, I saw you tweet this thing out last week or this week. Let me share my screen so we can all look at it together. Okay. So yeah, you posted this tweet where you said, I am effing cooked. What he does in one day basically took me 2 years. AI build, content, and automation tools are going to change everything. So let's just look at, before we kind of look at the video, I think, let's just kind of look at what this is.
Yeah.
So it's this guy, Bryson, actually ended up talking to him right after this tweet.
Nice.
He built this website called Creator Cook. So let's just look at it. It's essentially a starter story, but for the niche of creators.
Yeah.
So Pat, Starter Story is all about kind of indie hackers, coders to some degree, people building these online kind of web apps. This is all around the niche of creators. And so what I thought would be kind of interesting is if we did a little side by side of how this guy did,
Yeah, it looks similar. So let's see.
Uncover the secret ingredients of top creators. Let's look at Starter Story. Unlock the secrets to 7-figure online businesses.
Nice.
Even this sort of like half line thing.
Oh my gosh. Dude, you know what's crazy about this? And what I love about this, but also what I think is crazy, is that we A/B tested this headline probably 10 times.
Sure.
We tried lots of different things. Now he gets to go and basically just take all of our learnings. He probably didn't even realize he was doing that. He had this background, but using AI tools, I'm guessing he used to create this, he was able to channel all of our learnings and tests and things that we've done over the years into a great headline.
Yep. Exactly. So even this line here, learn exactly how creators go from zero to $1 million brands. See exactly how online businesses goes from zero to millions. You see case study, how I blah, blah, growing an audience, etc.
Genius.
So first off, I know we're going to talk more about that, but quick reactions. Your reaction to the tweet was like, I'm cooked. So what do you mean?
I always tell people to go and look at proven landing pages and just in a separate niche, not your direct competitor, and just take what works. That for us, we have tested a lot of this stuff. Even if you go to like a bigger company that has a big team of designers and conversion rate optimization experts and all this stuff, go steal their landing pages because they've been testing the shit out of those for years. So I think this is awesome. It doesn't bother me really that it kind of rips off our design. I think it's cool because it's in a different niche. So
yeah. For sure. Yeah, I think it's cool. Yeah, that's a great point. You obviously, like you said, you did a bunch of work on this for years and years, tested a bunch of it. You know what works, more or less, and someone else can essentially build on top of that. Yeah. And it's like you said, he's not ripping you off exactly. He's kind of carving his own way here. But I still think it's so interesting to see this side by side.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what I wanted to do, what I thought could be interesting to do, we were talking about this beforehand, is maybe go. So he posted this video, which is all about he has this goal to inspire other creators, which maybe was similar to why you wanted to start Starter Story. And he posted this short video, or this video here, where he walks through kind of exactly how he's done it so far.
This is day one of building a $1 billion media company using only AI. I interviewed a creator who makes $26K a month on YouTube.
So, all right. So the first thing he does is he starts by interviewing someone successful, someone that's making $26,000 a month. That is inherently interesting to anyone who wants to create content online because who doesn't want to make $26,000 a month creating content? The hard part about that is getting that first interview. And that's something that took me 2-3 months just to get to the first interview, just to convince someone to do an interview with us. Right. And that was what people want to know if you're going to interview someone is, do you have an audience? Is this worth my time to go and share my story and spend this time with you? Right. Yeah. He's already solving this in a really, really smart way by documenting in public him doing this, right? It's cool that he's doing an interview with someone making $26,000 a month. But what's even cooler is that he's showing the behind the scenes of him doing this, which will drive people to want to sign up to his site. And then that gets his first audience. So if he didn't do this, he would have zero audience, but he did this. I retweeted him and he got probably his first 100 or 1,000 subscribers on his thing. And then that's all you need. Then the flywheel starts for your media business. He says he wants to build $1 billion media business. He's already way more on his way than 90% of people that I talk to that are still waiting to share in public. They're still waiting to they're still trying to figure out how to get their first 100 users or 100 viewers.
So how did you get the first one? Were you just like cold emailing people or talking to your friends or?
Yeah, the first one I got was actually a friend. So nobody wanted to do an interview with me until they saw that I had a real website. And, I'm actually cause I'm sure people get these requests all the time. So the first person I interviewed was my friend, and because he was an entrepreneur and he had started a business, and I, basically just begged him. I said, "Hey, can I get on the phone with you right now? And I'll just ask you questions. I'll transcribe everything to interview and I'll do all the work. All you need to do is this 30-minute phone call." I made it worth their while and they finally said yes. And that created the very first interview, which I was able to then leverage to, more people to share like, hey, this is what it's going to look like. It's going to look cool. It's going to share your story and maybe you'll get some sales.
Yeah, that's cool. Let's continue.
Your cookbook. I love using Riverside FM for interviews because it creates a transcript using AI that I can use.
Okay, here, yeah, this is good for the transcription.
Yeah, so he says he used Riverside to interview, which automatically creates a transcript.
Yeah, this is another great example of how AI is going to change the world. And because I remember when I did my first interview and, I had a full-time job, I was busy. AI tools did not exist back then. So not only did it cost a bunch of money to do that, it took a bunch of time. I think it took a week or two to transcribe it. And it looks like he was able to do that in minutes. That is the power of AI, which is just crazy to me.
Yeah. And obviously we use Riverside. We're using Riverside right now. And it's actually it's pretty good. Anyone, I'm sure, who's used any recording software knows that they're all really good now. But I can't imagine, because I lived in a time where that wasn't the case. Like taking notes or whatever, how long it takes to pull that all together into a concise way. But I think he's going to get into it. But if he's building case studies off of these, I bet he could, for example, grab a starter story case study and say, hey, this is the frame. Now take these transcription notes and turn it into something that looks like this. Yeah. And it does such a good job. I do that all the time for different stuff that I write. And it's actually pretty good at.
Yeah, I know. And it just wasn't possible or financially viable to do that before. I had to painstakingly sit there for hours and do that. And eventually I had to outsource that because it wasn't worth my time. And now it can just be done.
Yeah. Okay, let's continue. So I think he just said he used Riverside to get the transcription. And now he's going to create a case study on that creator.
From there, I use ChatGPT to turn the transcript into a case study about Killdozer's YouTube channel that's going to release later on my website, creatorcook.com.
Yeah, so starter story, OGs will know this, but the whole premise behind it was of how regular people like you and me were building businesses from, 0 to 10K a month, 20K per month. This is all over the internet now, but at the time it didn't exist. It was only TechCrunch covering businesses that raise millions in funding. Nobody was covering these small solopreneur businesses. And I know that sounds crazy, but that was not really existing at the time. It was super rare. So the whole premise, the thing that I thought would be interesting is, can we put these into a really digestible format? How I started the business, how I came up with the idea, how I launched it, how I grew it, and that sort of stuff. So my whole goal was to take these conversations with founders that I was having, put it into this digestible kind of unique format, which was the most painful thing I've ever done in my life. I would sit there especially for the very first ones when I was figuring out the format and figuring out how to do it. These would take me 6, 7, 8 hours to get right of editing, right? It seems so simple now because editing is a solved problem with AI, but this was why it was so hard. And maybe this is why Starter Story was successful, because nobody else was willing to do this. Now it can be done, with AI. So maybe it's a little tough to build a business doing case studies now, but just remember how much time I spent. And then I watch Bryce do this in 5 seconds of his TikTok video. And I just almost laugh. It makes me a little bit sad, but it also makes me really, really pumped up about how much more productive AI will help us become by not having to do this bullshit, like editing down an interview for 8 hours, right?
Yeah. I'm thinking what a question that's coming to mind is like, I feel like I can hear some people saying, I mean, doing this faster is obviously awesome. But is there anything lost in like the pain that you kind of put it through to get it right?
Yep.
Versus ChatGPT sort of like pulling out? Like, do you think viewer or reader cares that much?
What I think is interesting about this is doing the case study is not painful anymore, right? Because AI can do it and it could probably do a better job than most humans. What's actually more painful for him is to create this TikTok video, because the pain is there. That's what I think makes it actually more worth it, right? For him to go and create this TikTok video, to edit everything together, to tell a compelling story, and to do all this and put it into a package that he can put on YouTube. That's actually the value right there. Doing case studies is cool. Whether that, I think it's good that AI automates that. And because I actually think the value is actually more in his build in public thing than it is on the case studies. I don't know what you think about that.
And that's such a great point, because anybody can plug stuff into ChatGPT and it's going to spit out like B- content, but not everybody can, like you just said, go through the process of recording this, cutting it up, thinking of the story, blah, blah, blah. That's like the barrier, maybe before the barrier was interview people and like produce the case study. That was like, and now the barrier has sort of moved or shifted.
Yep.
How are you putting this out there versus like, what are you putting out there?
Yep. And that's just if someone's watching this far into it and really trying to start something, is if something's hard and painful, that doesn't always mean that it's good, but it usually means there's something there, right? If you're getting results, but it's hard, it's a good thing. So lean into that. Just remind.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, let's continue. So now he's at the point where he's plugged it into ChatGPT, created this case study, blah, blah, blah. And I think it's going to get even more interesting here.
The purpose of these case studies is to release them as a newsletter and have them as paid content on my website. But I had a big problem. Currently, I do not have a newsletter landing page. So
that part, he was like, he's going to release them as newsletters, paid content on the website. That's pretty cool. And you kind of did something similar.
Yes. Two things there. Setting up the newsletter, that obviously was annoying. And then the second thing he mentioned, which was the paid product, we actually didn't launch that for 2 years. Everything was free on our site for basically the first 2 years, because I didn't feel confident doing that. And number one, and charging money yet. And then also it was going to be a lot of work to actually code that up and do it the right way and set up the Stripe integration and make sure there was enough case studies on the site and all these things. I couldn't monetize it for a long time. Obviously, he's monetizing it right away, which would not be possible without these AI tools.
Yeah, for sure. I think the thing I'm really thinking about is like the barrier to entry is like lower now. That's like not actually the thing that matters. Like how you get that out there, how you get the word out there is something I'm thinking about right now. It's interesting. I think here's where it gets interesting. I think at this point he says, I have all this stuff, but I realize I don't have a landing page for my website. And so preview here, Lovable. That's what the symbol here looks like. See what he does.
So I went to lovable.dev. Lovable is a site that lets you basically create a website using AI as if you were simply talking in a ChatGPT. And it took me about 4 hours, but I came up with a crazy looking landing page. And that landing page.
So in about 4 hours, he went from nothing to this.
Yeah. Yep.
It's pretty good.
Yep. Yeah, that's the one that just gets me both freaked out and also pumped up, because I spent years making that landing page. There's all the tests that we ran. There's all of the knowledge up here that I built about what converts, what doesn't, what people, and he basically did that in 4 hours. Crazy. Not only, I have this old, and if I could find this right now, this original landing page, I can find it. Okay, this, is the very first landing page for Starter Story. That's how bad it was. And look how terrible the design was, right? We haven't talked about the design yet, but that's something that took me years to get good at. And this is the original landing page of Starter Story, one of the very, very first ones. And look, I just have this subscribe button here. Like, what does that do? And half the images don't even work here. These are actually wrong. Like, he got to spare himself from having to do all this. And And that's just what is crazy to me.
Do you think that matters? Like, again, kind of, I asked a similar question about the whole like creating the case studies thing. You went through the pain of this. Going through the pain of it weeds people out, probably.
Yeah.
You know, if I would have wanted to do this 7 years ago, I'm like, oh, hell no. I don't know how to do this. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
Kind of goes back to that point I was making of like the barrier to entry being lower. But anyways, just some thoughts on like going through that.
And I'll give you most of the same answer that I gave you before, but the hard parts about building are not development and not design anymore. Those are solved problems with AI. Shameless plug, the AI Build Accelerator is I'll pull that up right now, this is exactly why we're building this, which is if you go check out our AI Build Bootcamp where you'll build an app in 12 days, I have this little line here that says building apps with AI without a developer or without a designer. And that's the key part right there, is that you don't need design as a solved problem. Look, there are some apps that require you to have epic cutting edge design. But if you're building a B2B SaaS or you're building Starter Story, our design is not what makes us win as a business, right? It's our content. It's our ways of packaging up that content. Development and design are solved problems. Now, what is the unsolved problem? Distribution and marketing. Oh, why reinvent the wheel when it comes to design when you can just have it be solved by putting it into a lovable chat and it gets solved in hours. So again, this is just what blows my mind when I see this and why I just love going over this right now, because it just proves everything about this. So yeah.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, let's keep going here.
And that landing page is Creator Cookbook. And this is my new media company where I interview top content creators and share the secret ingredients as to how they became successful. You can learn how they went viral, how they make money, and how you can do the same as a content creator. And as you can see, my first case study is just about ready, and that is with Killdozer.
And it's just another example of things that took me a really long time to figure out. Email integration, putting the sign up form on the website, it's not necessarily easy. It was tools may make it feel easy to do now, but when I was starting out, that was probably something that took me days or even a week to set up. And then that's not even talking about the content. So when someone joins, there's that onboarding email. There is the weekly emails that get sent out about the new content that we have on the site. I would spend hours doing that. Now AI can automatically write that for you, package it up in a matter of minutes, and maybe even completely do it automated with AI agents. Yeah. And it's just another example of how he can do this in one day. It took me years.
Yeah, easy. Let's finish up this video. A couple more seconds here.
And the last thing I did on day one was start editing the YouTube video, which is going to be a video podcast of my interview with Killdozer. And it's going to go live on my YouTube, creator_cookbook. So that's the end of day one. Make sure you follow.
I mean, it's another example is like, want to get on YouTube because I knew how much work it was going to be. So first of all, he's doing something really smart by just immediately going to video, because as we kind of talked about earlier, it's where the people are. That's where it's a little bit harder of a problem to solve. I think text content and blogs are necessarily dying, but it's a lot harder to grow a business through, and it's a lot harder to just grow through, SEO. And so doing things on social media, like he's doing on TikTok right here, or I guess Twitter X, but he's probably also sharing it on other short form platforms. Video is huge. And then he's also doing the interviews on video, which is definitely what he should be doing.
Again, I mean, I know I've said this already a bunch of times, but it's kind of like my main takeaway is like barrier to entry is like easier, but there's still those like he's doing video first. I still think a lot of people don't want to be known as YouTubers or whatever, scared to put their face online. We see a bunch of faceless video stuff. Yeah. Because he's willing to start there. I think going to be a unique advantage for sure.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, that the first thing that I see when I go to his page is his face. He's saying, hey, this is me. This is what I'm building. This is built in public, right? A lot of people are afraid to do this. Like you said, they're afraid to put their face online. They know they need to do it, yet they're not ready to do it yet. Only get even more important with AI, automating case studies, actually what's more interesting about his business, I think, is him, his story, him building it, him using different tools to do it. Still an awesome service, and it helps content creators grow. But me personally, I really think it's cool that he is documenting his journey in public. Here's day one. And this is similar to the AI challenge that I've been doing, day 1, day 2, day 3, documenting your journey in public and sharing and kind of documenting things is super cool. Show me how you're starting from zero. make a video or do a short form video talk or whatever about what you did today. That's all he did was just, there's thousands of people that are doing this. He's the only one that's documenting it. When I started out, it was just on blogs because that was kind of big at the time. But I documented my process on how I got started every single month. I shared how much money I had made that month, how much traffic I got that month. You can kind of see right here. And I was just sharing what's working for me, right? I shared screenshots and certain tactics that worked. Look, I wasn't getting 1 million people to look at this stuff, but there were, a couple hundred people, and that was the beginning of my audience. All I was doing was just sharing what I already did. So doing cool things, trying, okay with failing, and then what I learned along the way. I just did that every single month for a couple of years. And that was a big also reason why I think people latched on to Starter Story and how I, built up a following and that sort of stuff. So yeah, what Bryce is doing is awesome and exactly what I would be doing if I was starting over in 2025.
Yeah, that's cool. Shout out to Bryce building. I think it's going to be awesome. I signed up, so I'm excited to see what those first few case studies look like and follow him on YouTube, things like that. Yeah. But I think you've kind of said this throughout, so I'm repeating just to make sure we get it here at the end is like someone watching this is like, okay, cool. So what should I do? Or what would if I'm watching Pat or been following Starter for a while, like I want like that one piece of advice of starting over. So what would you say to that person?
Tough question to answer because it's so I think what I would say is nature of what we talked about today and what Bryce is doing and what I'm doing with the 100K build challenge. Small idea, something really small, something you could build with AI tools and launch it with zero expectations of even maybe your expectations to make your first dollar. You need to make $1 million because what you'll learn from that process of launching and probably failing with that idea will be the information needed to do it a little bit better the next time. That eventually, if you do that over and over, will become something where you can sustain yourself or, build $1 million business. So pick a small idea, launch it in 12 days. Shout out to the AI Build Accelerator where you can do that in 12 days, but you also don't have to do that. You can do it on your own and see what happens. Fuck around and find out. It's really as simple as that.
That's great. I mean, I feel like I heard this saying once. I was like, best advice is like simple. And I think that like you just said, like aligns with that. It's like, just start. And if that sounds lame to say it that way, but like I'm going to learn how to do it by like watching more like this, even they're playing with the tools, getting some guidance, like through something like the Build Accelerator, just putting stuff out there. I think that's awesome. Cool.
Awesome. That was really cool to go through that. Thank you guys for watching. Been the Starter Story podcast. I'm not sure what episode we're on here, but if you enjoy it, please give us a like, subscribe, and let us know in the comments what you want to see us cover next. If you have any questions, I'll personally answer or try to turn this into content. So please put in the comments if you enjoyed this or any feedback you have or what questions you have, and we'll see you in the next one. See you guys.